we are so excited to have the Khanna sisters here, the founders, you co-founders, right, of the Uncube.
Yes.
And they were recently acquired, and it is just so exciting because it breaks so many stereotypes. So I'm so inspired by you girls, and it's so good to say I'm so inspired by you girls and not you guys. So this is really, really, really fantastic. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we connected. It was last year. I went to India to take the program Women Get Funded, and Shiro's is an amazing organization, and they were the platinum sponsors, and we did some work together, and they selected a few people to go through the Women Get Funded program, and the Uncube was one of the few, and they were recently acquired. So we're very, very excited to have you here. You're a great role model for so many women around the world. So I'm just ecstatic to have you here. But I want to start with asking you some questions. And the first one is, how did you come up with the idea?
Okay, so great question. And cut back to, let's say, 2016. I was in New York. I was actually working there. And, typical 7, 8 p.m. after office, you've gone out for a few drinks with your friends, and we were talking about business ideas in this bar that was very, very loud. And we couldn't hear each other. And, we're sitting in the middle of New York City, and just like, it would have been amazing if I could have actually just booked a meeting room in one of these buildings at 7 p.m. because they're just empty, right? And my friend sort of, it's like, yeah, that would have been amazing. I'm like, just like how we book Uber, why can't we just book a meeting room or a workspace, right? And, that conversation just sort of went on to sort of discuss how the best coffee shops are always busy. It's just difficult to find, a quiet place where you want to get in. If you don't get in at 9 a.m. into that coffee shop, you won't get a place to sit after like 11, so on and so forth. And then how just travel is increasing and people are always trying to find, a temporary place to sit and work, between two meetings. People are flying so much more, and the ways of doing work are evolving. We don't sit in sort of closed offices anymore. And the need is sort of, I want it now and I want it around me, right? So that was sort of the germ of the idea. Was really a conversation sort of came out of an actual need of us not being able to hear each other in a bar type of setting. And really that was it. And then, I did market survey, spoke to a lot of people. Do they face the same problem? The use cases completely varied, right? So from an entrepreneur to a freelancer to a corporate professional, yes, there was the demand for workspace anytime, anywhere you want it. But people had their own ways, right? So people were finding coffee shops, people were finding hotel lobbies to do sort of what, a meeting really requires: a ambient atmosphere, a cup of coffee, and the ability to sort of just talk and meet with the other person that you're trying to meet. And cut to now, that's sort of the last 3 years. We've become a product, we've become an app, we've become a website. We are working with enterprise customers who sort of deploy this workplace flexibility tool, into their employees. And we're solving the problem that we sort of identified, sort of in that conversation in a bar. So that was it.
And let me just move here. And you started the conversation in New York, but did you start the company there, or how did you make the transition? What happened?
So I was actually working. So I did my master's at NYU, and then I was working in New York City. And I wanted to sort of, jump into doing something of my own. WeWork had just started to take the world by storm, and co-working as a concept was growing globally. And this conversation started about workplace flexibility, being able to monetize underutilized real estate, for this whole on-demand workspace, meeting space concept. And then obviously the visa issue kicked in, and I said, if I sort of, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to give it my 100%. Build a product, build a team around it to actually see where it goes. Because of the visa issue, I couldn't stay in the US. That's one. Second, also, I come from a family of sort of architects and people who understand sort of the real estate and the built environment. And there's a certain ecosystem that the family business had, so which would have given me sort of a push into what I wanted to do. So thought I'll come back to India, build a technology product here, and then sort of, see if I want to still go back to the US to, grow the business or do it in India. So very, in a few months after this conversation I had with my friend in the bar, I actually, resigned at my job in the US and I moved back to India, not knowing what this is going to work out like. And it was a big risk. This is pre-Trump, and obviously we know how difficult it is sort of to get visas. And I had got the H-1B, and my company was sort of willing to apply for my green card and so on and so forth. But I was like, let's just sort of go with the flow. And this is the best time in my life to take risk. And as a woman, you always constantly think of that factor because I'm not married, I don't have kids, so can I take risk in my life? Yes, I just have to take care of myself. So that was my guiding factor. And came back to India, started building the product, got Surbhi in to sort of jump onto this boat with me. And then we very quickly decided that India is going to be the go-to market for the product, because we understood this market very, very well. Second, because of the family business in general, there was a better connectivity that we had with landlords, with some sort of enterprise customers. We were building the tech in India, so it was easier to be sort of closer to the technology team, and we got started.
That's great. And did you raise any money, and what was your sister's reaction when you asked her to come and join you?
I'm gonna let her talk.
So I was actually in the midst of looking for better professional opportunities, and the fact.
Excuse me, what were you doing? Because the people don't know. What were you doing at the moment?
Right. So I had actually I had just graduated from university in Dubai. And I was contemplating either getting a job or joining my father with the family business. And then she actually reached out to me saying, look, I'm doing this and I would love if you could sort of come help out for a while. And, then you can probably go back and do whatever it is you were thinking of doing. So I said, so I contemplated it for a total of about a week. And, and I said, okay, why not? It's a new opportunity. Let's go check it out. And literally cut to 2 weeks down from that conversation, I was in India.
Wow. Yeah. What did your parents say?
My parents were very open, honestly. They just said, do whatever you have to do. This is your life. It's your career path. Go for it.
So do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Or do your parents have their own company? Mm-hmm. Did your mom work?
Yes, both our moms. Both our moms work. Both our fathers are entrepreneurs. Both of them run their own businesses. So I think we've seen that.
We've seen that growing up. So it essentially runs in our blood.
Yeah, that's great.
And just on this point, I want to add something. I think the family support, as much as we can talk about it, but I think without the parents and the families that we had, we would have not reached so far. Because they gave us all the support in terms of emotional, financial, monetary, everything support system, right? And I think it's really because of them that we've been able to get so far, and I think just they've guided us through the journey as well, right? So I think that plays a very, very big role in sort of I think any entrepreneur's life, you need to have,
that strong support system.
They say, right, that it takes a village to sort of build an entrepreneur. So for us, that village was our family.
Yeah. How many people in your family were supporting you? Your mom, your dad, do you have any siblings?
Yes.
One sibling each.
Yeah. So our parents and our siblings, to the extent even our grandparents, she is my first cousin, so our grandmom, who's been very proud about the journey that we've been through. From the days we started, she would ask us every day, has there been any new big breakthrough? What happened? And so, the day we got our first client or things like that,
we would go home super excited and tell everybody at home, and they'd sit and listen. Even if it was for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But they would listen.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I never thought about that, but it's really, you have your own advisory board at home. And
exactly.
Basically, yes.
Exactly. I mean, every dinner conversation in the last 3 years, I think most of them have been about Uncube and the challenges we are facing and how to tackle them. And there have been, good days, but there have been so many bad days, right? And that's really when, whether it was something special cooked in dinner just to sort of, get our moods, happy, or just dessert or something like that, whether food helps us to sort of, come out of the sort of the grim days where you think that, okay, what are we doing with our lives, right? Is this going to go anywhere, right? So I think that really, I think more and more now I'm starting to realize that without any of that,
it would not be possible.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it would have been more difficult because there's some people who don't have that. And if we tell them it would be possible and they don't have it, I mean,
it would be more difficult. And I think it requires, I think the whole journey of entrepreneurship in general requires a lot of grit. It requires a lot of tomorrow's going to be a better day sort of attitude. And
being hopeful, honestly, just fighting your own battles, winning your own battles, in fact. And yeah, that is basically the crux of being an entrepreneur.
And hustle. I don't think, I mean, a lot of people say hustle. I really think it is all about, the hustle. And hustle means everything, right? It means from a business perspective, reiterating your business, listening to your customers, listening to the market, listening to your team, listening to just every aspect about being an entrepreneur is to have that attitude that I'm going to get this tomorrow, right? It might not happen for the next 6 months, but I mean, that's the only way to sort of keep going. And I think both of us, have helped each other in that way as well. I had bad days and she would sort of pull me up and vice versa. So that, I mean, having had her, I think it really sort of reached where it is. And I don't say that enough, but her role has been very pivotal in pushing this idea. Yeah.
I think this is a great comment. And one of the things that I really enjoy about these fireside chats is the discovery of things that I didn't know existed. So I never knew how important that was because I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I didn't live close to my family when I was developing my businesses. But
Sure.
These create a great incentive and example for parents who have kids and who are starting their entrepreneurial journey, because what you said is completely true. You need that support system. I think this is fantastic. It's one of the lessons that I didn't think we were going to discuss. So I thank you for that. And I thank you parents for that and your extended family for that.
Thank you.
You're very, very, very fortunate. I want to go to the next question. And I do have one personally. Did you raise funds to start and to grow the company? Did you have to look for funding, and how did you do that if you did?
So we didn't raise funding at the get-go. So it was, I invested from my savings from the US having worked there. We did have a friend of mine actually invest in the business. And this sort of happened. He was the friend I was talking to in the bar about the idea. So you see where it came from, right? Because the germ of the idea happened in front of him. He saw my determination to sort of move back to India, have her join the team. We got a few more other people to join us. So he saw the determination from me and from Surbhi to actually build this business. And he said, you know what, I'm going to invest some money. It wasn't a big amount. It's about 15% of sort of our entire at that point. But that was sort of
the biggest push that we actually received.
There's someone else who believes in the story with us. And then it was sort of me and the family that invested in the business until we sort of reached the point where we needed to raise money, and we didn't have enough traction in the business, and all the problems of
that essentially investors look at,
and there were some missing pieces, and we really tried, and then we found this way of sort of becoming a part of accelerators who sort of give a grant, and then we were a part of
the Startup Bootcamp Accelerator that was based out of Dubai, actually.
So we joined the Startup Bootcamp Accelerator that gave us a grant of some funding that actually really pushed us through. And this was at a point where we were at the last sort of 2 months of funding in our bank account, and I was like, in my head I was like, okay, this is gonna we're gonna shut shop, and we're gonna go back to finding jobs, and that's gonna be it. And then from nowhere we got selected in this accelerator. There were over 600 startups that had applied here to this, and then we got selected in the top 5, was it?
Yeah.
Who get a certain funding, and that really pulled us through. And obviously it came with all the other benefits of being an accelerator, sort of connected us to people globally, gave us some interesting enterprise conversations that we derived a lot of insight from, so on and so forth, and mentors and advisors, and it also gave us that funding, which really sort of pulled us through, and then that sort of gave us another 6 months of room to operate, and that's really when we started to get enterprise traction, and we started to make our first monies, and the conversation with CoWrks had just started to happen. So we approached CoWrks from a strategic investment perspective, actually.
When did you approach?
And it was November of 2018.
And when did they acquire your company?
August of 2019.
So how many months did it? And did they? Did you know that they were interested in acquiring you?
Yes. So very early on, in our initial discussions, they said, we're not going to just be an investor. We will definitely look at a majority stake or acquisition. And we said, okay, let's talk about it. What do the numbers look like? How is this going to pan out? So on and so forth. And that opened the sort of doors for sort of figuring out how this is going to work. But it took us 10 months to figure it out and get a contract in place and sort of sign on the contract, go through due diligence, and that was a trying time. Many a times during that 10 months, because we had to survive those 10 months as well, right? Because they were not giving us any money before that. And during those 10 months also, many a times we felt that we're just going to dry up of liquidity. But I think by then, we had started to make some money from enterprise traction. And for that, we had to pivot, our business model here and there, to see how fast we can get some money into our bank accounts, because we had a payroll and we had regular business expenses. We were sitting out of a co-working space, so we had some kind of rent to be paid, so on and so forth. Surbhi and I never extracted any salaries, so that was some sense of
that was our
saving grace, and that was our equity on the table. So I think it's a mixture of really being able to foresee, what is coming to us and how can we plan. Typically, the world says, oh, you should have 6 months of liquidity always ahead of you. I don't think that always happens. And there are days that she and I will look at the bank statement every day and think that
we're not going to survive the next month.
How is this going to happen?
Yeah.
How are we going to pay our salaries? And this guy is going to quit if we don't give him his salary, right?
And if he quits, then we won't be able to reach out or handle our clients or our space partners. Yeah. So it was a challenge piecing every part of the business together while keeping in mind the funding that we had.
And how many months did you go through that phase of uncertainty? And I call it, you need to see your cash flow almost every day, and you need to plan it by week. And I've been there, and it's scary. It's very scary. So how many months did it take you? Because a lot of people think that it's very easy and you plan and things happen, and it's magic happen. And it's like, no, businesses are like babies. You have to change a diaper, and there's another one coming, but you don't know when that's going to come. But for sure you're going to have to change another one. But sometimes, in the case of a baby, it's going to take maybe, I don't know, a year and a half. But in the case of a business, you never know when that stress is going to end. So how much time did you spend just spinning that process of uncertainty?
So I think it was a continued phase of a year and a half, but we did get injections of monies from our clients, our first sort of buyers and, sort of customers. And that gave us, because we did some bulk transactions and we had to pivot the model, right? We had to respond to saying, well, is there a way to sort of just pivot our model slightly and be able to make some money because we're going to be able to solve this client's requirement, right? And we had to do that, right? I mean, we still stuck to sort of the main concept, and we sort of saw that, this is going to take some time in getting the actual traction. So for example, what that means in our business is that we sell space by the hour, right? But is the customer out there ready to buy space by the hour? Probably not, or is getting there. It's a very small fraction of the market that can do that. But can we still do large sort of bulk deals and be able to offer flexibility in the normal course of the day? Yes, we can. So we did that, right? Because that gave us liquidity to sort of push forward. But I think it was a continued phase of a year and a half, out of which 10 months was when we were doing the whole CoWrks transaction. I think during that point, multiple times CoWrks asked us, so what's your bank balance like? And I'm like, just enough to cover next month, right? And that was it, right? And then, interestingly, at the time CoWrks started to happen, we started to get a lot of enterprise traction, and multiple people asked us, why are you selling out, right? You're now getting traction, you can survive. And I was like, I mean, on the face of it looks good because now our revenues are going up, but we're sort of getting acquired, right? In the normal frame of mind, you would say, okay, I don't need to get acquired now. I will keep continuing, continue to grow the business, and we'll be able to survive. But I think we were very, very clear about the fact that we don't want to just grow like that. We want to grow faster. It's a very new market that we're trying to target. People are opening up to the idea, and in the way it's structured now, we still get to execute the idea with CoWrks. So that, I think, really sort of was a very clear,
was a driving factor.
Yeah.
But that was clear from day one.
Yeah.
The minute the majority stake acquisition conversation started, this was a point that was discussed thoroughly but locked in from the beginning itself.
Yeah. But yeah, a year and a half of uncertainty, and the world never saw that, right? The world didn't see that we were having sleepless nights. And I'm like, it seems very good that, we are making money and we're getting revenue. Is it enough to still cover our costs? Is it enough to still grow the business in the way we want it? Is it enough to, do marketing? No, it's not. We're working on a bare minimum, right? And sometimes I think it's really, the vision of the founding team as to where they want to take their business and how much are they willing to put on the table. And it's a very sort of, it's a very personal thing. It's, some of it is governed by the business and the market and, all of that. But I think some of it is also saying, how attached are you to this business? Is it your baby and you never want to let go of it? Or is it a baby that you've sort of, got it to a certain level and now, the baby can have other parents and you can be a caretaker, right? So it actually stems from very, kind of similar comparison. And, for the both of us, it was very clear that we want to definitely grow the business, and let CoWrks acquire it, and we'll continue to work with them to grow this business. So I think it's more personal than business driven.
Yeah.
So we have a question here from Daniel, but before we go there, I have something that I need to show you. So I'm going to share my screen, and I hope you would be delighted by that. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Sure.
Hi, my name is and I'm the CEO at CoWrks. I just wanted to share some thoughts about a recent acquisition of a company called Uncube. At CoWrks, we've always believed that work is not a destination, it's an activity. And that's the proposition that Uncube helps us complete. At CoWrks, we have our centers across the length and breadth of India. But one of the feedback we were getting from our members is that how do they get the same CoWrks experience wherever they wanted to work? That's what Sakshi and the team at Uncube brought to us, and that's what we've now branded as CoWrks Go. Essentially, it's an offering where whether it's an unused table in a restaurant or cafe or an unused space in a school or university, we are aggregating anywhere that anyone can work and bringing it onto our platform, offering it seamlessly both to B2B and B2C customers. The message I wanted to share with entrepreneurs is about Sakshi, who founded the Uncube. One of the biggest attractions we had was the fact that not only does she bring expertise in the sector to the table, but she's someone with a high amount of energy and enthusiasm. The message to entrepreneurs is that it's all about execution, and that's what again Sakshi made as a big difference. She had an idea, but she didn't leave it at that. She executed it and executed it well. We're very delighted with this combination, and I'm sure that together, CoWrks will go places. Thank you.
That's fantastic.
That's a nice surprise.
That is a very nice surprise. Indeed, I'm very happy.
Well, it was just by serendipity that we connected because of what is happening with WeWork, and there was something that that I just had that conversation about WeWork and co-working spaces and what is a good business model, what is not a good business model, and the fact that it's the company is the baby, and it will be independent. It's not about you, it's about the company. And I just thought it was very interesting. Then we connected, and I asked him if he could delight us with the video, and he obliged. So I think it was pretty cool.
And that's really nice.
That is actually quite nice.
So actually, I was at breakfast right before this with him because he's actually in Delhi today. So he asked me about the webinar, and he said, "Oh, I'm connected to Alicia," and I was like, "Oh, small world, great." So he's like, "Yeah, best of luck," and I was like, "Okay, great. I don't know how he knows about this, but this is fantastic." I was like, LinkedIn, sort of connects everyone. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty special when somebody speaks like that. Acquisitions, the acquisition process, it could be a little bit stressful, but it talks good about both of you actually. So I think it creates an even better role model, and this is why we want to do this, and we record it and then we send it to other people. So yeah, so I want to so thank you for that. I think it was pretty cool. And there's a question here, but I want to go back to the questions that they asked before, because I think we have sort of a trend there, and we're still we haven't gone over the start of the startup. How did you get your first client? What did you have to do?
Everything. It takes everything to get your first client. Well, I think just to be sort of answer that very quickly. I think understanding at the get-go, first having a basic understanding of who your user is going to be, and something that we learned over time, extensive research, and extensive surveys within your potential client base, and this could be all forms of today with sort of the ability to sort of run surveys very quickly through phones and through
Social media.
Data plays a very, very key role in defining who your customer audience is. That plus the concept of being able to meet people, grab a coffee with, if you're in the enterprise space, go grab coffee with someone who you think your client is going to be. And I think it's, it takes us by surprise that, we sort of reached out to a lot of people and people were willing to talk, right? So if I came to you, Adisha, and I said, I'm doing this, but you know what? I want your expertise to be able to help me fine tune the solution, right? You'd oblige, right? And I think that is a very undervalued tactic, but I think that really gives you a lot of deep insight into who your customer is, what their problems are, and is your product being able to solve that? And I think that's a continuous thing that companies and specifically product companies should do, because that really helps in understanding your customer more and more every day, and identifying with their problem and making sure that your product is answering the problem. Because when you hear it from their mouth, it puts a whole different, sort of nuance and understanding about that problem. What did we do? We had really, to be fairly honest, we had idea of a potential user base for ourselves, which was the B2C audience base. And we started going after them in all ways, right? The traditional ways. We went to social media, we went to events, we did everything, right? But very quickly realized that our cost of customer acquisition was very high, right? And we didn't want to build a business that was unsustainable, where we keep pouring money into doing social media marketing or things like that. So very quickly sort of came back to the drawing board and saying, look, there is a problem. We found a problem, right? But how do we now scale this to actually people to start using what we built in terms of the technology, in terms of the spaces that we've got listed on the platform and all of that. So we sort of pivoted our strategy after our first 6 months actually from B2C to become actually enterprise. Because what happens with the enterprise customer is that it's more sticky, it's more bulk. In the process of doing this, actually, we realized that there's actually another problem that companies have with the whole concept of flexible space is actually managing their internal office spaces. And we actually built an additional tool, technology, an additional offering from our startup to actually manage that. And that was the complete result of
more than half the customers that we have today.
And identifying with their problem, right? We didn't think of that idea. It was
out there.
It was hearing what they said, right? And then saying, okay, how can we sort of, actually solve this? And I think that is the most important, right? You could have the best idea, but if you don't put it out there and you don't get people to actually react on it and tell you the real problem, you won't be able to grow at scale. So I think customer feedback is the most important way of growing your business and even to just get started.
And real customer data. If you go out and you talk to the customer, so what did you ask them?
So, but the problem is real customers only come once you've got your first customer, right? How do you even get to the first customer? So you start to so you create your own user profiles, right? So for example,
with your own assumptions.
With your own assumptions.
And then you start sampling them over time. So, a complete example of what we actually tried doing was we went after the lawyer segment. We had an assumption that they might be target audience for us, and we went after that. And then there was digital marketers. Then there was, freelancers. And this is again all B2C that I'm talking. On the B2B front, we our initial conversations were with companies with a lot of fleet on street on the ground. And that sort of made us understand that, okay, yes, this product really fits the enterprise customer because they genuinely have a problem in managing their employees that are out of the office because they don't know what they're doing. They have no idea as to what the employee is doing from 9 to 6. And that's sort of where the pieces started coming together.
So it's basically creating, sampling up, from your assumptions, user profiles, talking to them, understanding, connecting with them, understanding their feedback, their problems, and then inculcating that in your solution, and then taking it back to them, and then getting more feedback, and that loop just continues, right? Because specifically in the world of technology today, right, things are changing very fast. What might have been a problem 6 months ago today is not my problem anymore because it's gotten solved by something, right? So I think that loop and your touch base with your customer is very, very important, because the moment you lose that, and it's very easy to lose it because you'll get caught up in, let's get the UI of the product really nice, or let's get the branding really well done, or let's do this event, and it's very easy to kind of get out of that connection. But I think that is the most important piece of the business, and it holds everything together. And till date, we do this. Till date, we are listening to our customers. Is potential competition in the market beating us to price? Is the potential competition offering us different, different products? And we're trying to get that feedback from the client. If the client has used a competitive product, we're asking them what made it better, what was better in that product that we don't have, right? And that is real insight, and that is real data. So I think that is the most important piece from the day you get started till the day your company runs.
That's very, very important. So it is keeping in touch with your customers, close connection with the company, with the customers, and incorporating the things that they need that maybe your competitors have, or maybe that they don't know how to resolve, incorporating that into your offering. That's really, really key. Now, let me just go down here. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Danny's question. So what are you going to do now after being bought out? And are you going to start another company? You're going to continue working here? Because a lot of, and I have my own reasons why I ask it that way, because a lot of people don't understand what comes after.
So, well, for us, it was very clear. One of the bases of which we did this acquisition with CoWrks was that we're going to continue to work with them. And that's the team entirely, not just the both of us. So they acquired not just the business, they acquired the team, right? Because they acquired the machinery behind
the idea and
the execution, right? And I think Abhishek spoke about the execution to a little extent, because for a new product, for something that you're trying to do new out there, right? Like, if you're trying to build the new Uber or whatever it is, right? The execution matters more than the idea, right? So it was and it was very clear from the get-go, from our initial conversations with them, that it's, we're not just here to sell you a technology product or an app or our contracts with spaces. It's the idea, it's the execution, and it's the ability for us to actually grow, be a part of the growth of this business, right? We have taken a substantial risk in doing what we're doing today, and that just doesn't apply to me or her, it applies to even the team, right? It applies to our interns who came and worked with us at a lower pay check because they believed in what they were doing. Whoever sort of believed in this idea needs to kind of see it grow, right? And so hence for us, we do continue to work with CoWrks. Uncube has been rebranded to something called CoWrks Go, which offers customers short-term and on-demand workspaces, and we sort of continue to grow that business. Right now, the team that manages CoWrks Go within CoWrks is the Uncube team, quote unquote, and we're now hiring people to sort of grow this team a little larger and sort of being able to actually take the business and grow the business at scale.
So there you go. It is not the end. It's just a different stage.
It's always day one in here.
I love that. I love that. Then I have, okay, I have another question here. What is your relationship with Sheroes and We Make It Funded, and how did any of that play a role in the way you viewed your company and in the way you execute it?
You want to answer?
No, I mean, you can.
So I think I think Sheroes is a great example of entrepreneurship for women. It's a great platform for women, and I think early on in our journey, we started to, we wanted to reach out, and I think we both of us also drew a lot of inspiration from Sairi herself. I think she's a great role model for young women entrepreneurs. She identified a cause and stuck to it since forever, and has been able to build a fantastic platform called Sheroes. And we wanted to sort of learn from that, and B, sort of take actually get insights from them, because they have this massive presence of women on their platform. And as women, we understood that, I always take my example. It's like, if I get married, do I want to go to work every day, 9 to 5, drive 2 hours to my workplace, right? Can I not use the Uncube offering, right? And I was like, how do I get this data validated? Again, going back to the customer, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really when we thought, let's go and talk to Sheroes, because they've got that feedback that we want for the women. And till date, something that we talk about are spaces safe for women, because we as women understand the problems that we face in the larger sort of workspace, right? And how can we solve that through our product? And I think for that, we looked towards Sheroes to give us some of that answer, to give some of their feedback, and take it forward. So I think it was the relationship and the connection was more sort of learning from their learnings, and how can we inculcate that into the product, because we identified those problems, but just wanted validation.
That's great. And what about Women Get Funded?
And Women Get Funded, I think it was some of the basic concepts that you thought that, yeah, this is how it works. No, like going through that entire sort of 10 weeks of learning of actually what goes into raising funding, what works, what doesn't work, and picking from sort of your experiences, right? And that entire tutorials, and I think that was fantastic. And we both would keep a check on each other, like, have you seen it? Have you done it? And then we would talk about it, right? And take away. And it was interesting because during this time we were actually in conversation with we just started our conversations on fundraising, and a lot of the questions that are subtle details, if I may say so, that you kind of miss, but then an investor would ask you, right? And a lot of that sort of, I think I grabbed from Women Get Funded.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
we're gonna start this year. We have 8 mentors that are all colleagues of mine, and they're all members of Sand Hill Angels. Sand Hill Angels is now the largest angel network in Silicon Valley. Not by numbers, we're not that many. We're 124. But in terms of our portfolio, because we've done very well. Actually, some of them have done much better than I have, because everybody makes their own decisions. But we now have 8 and 9. Actually, we got another one, 9 mentors, and we're going to start doing mentors one-on-one, which I think it's going to be.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, but I like your concept about being what is called accountability partners, that you both ask, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Because it's very hard if you're alone. It's really, really hard.
But that's one-on-one of entrepreneurship, right? You have to be accountable to yourself.
Yes. Well, that is true. Like, I moved countries, and I had my kids, and I had to make it work. So I had my own system. So I have my own system with my little notebook, and I still have it sometimes. And then I said, okay, these are my own key performance indicators. So it's very interesting when you talk about, I don't want to take a lot of your time. I don't want to take your webinar, but for me, what made the difference was to change the way I view success for my company. So ultimately, I wanted to make a sale, but because I didn't know how to structure that sale, especially when I did a fund or when I did a company that I had no clue that was a breakthrough innovation, my goal then became, how many people do I talk to this week? And I had to get myself out there And very few people know that I'm not an extrovert. I'm sort of more quiet. But I needed to make it work, so I had to force myself to go out and talk to people. And then I would come back, and then I would take notes. This is what worked. This is what doesn't work. And I started creating a new reality that I didn't know existed, because I was bringing something that was new to the market. But it was just pushing myself to go out and thinking differently, not how many sales I make, but how many people I contact today. Made a big change, because it allowed me to execute. And that's hard. It's hard to go out and to put yourself in a situation where, what happens if they don't like me?
Sure.
So,
I think these are challenges we've all faced.
We've all faced. I think so. There was a time where we built a team. And sorry, I'm going away from the flow of you asking us a question. But we've got we got employees in and we got employees out, and it just kept happening, right?
So we essentially rebuilt our team 3 times
to do what we're doing, right? And in the phases where we were, between the in and the out, there were weeks where it was just the both of us, right? So now we had to do everything. We had to do revenue, we had to do operations, we had to do financial, we had to do HR, we had to do everything, right? So we demarcated days of the week to do X, Y, Z, right? And I really had to push her on days, be like, pick up the phone and, start making cold calls. Like, you've got to do it, right? And she hated it. She hated me for it. She hated the idea.
I hated the word for it.
And
you like it now?
And now she does it. Now
it's just part and parcel of a normal day.
And it's a skill that I think has
needed to develop. Yeah, honestly.
And so you gotta. I think to your point that you said that you gotta push yourself out there, out of your comfort zone. I think that's really what it's all about. Because if you continue to stay in your comfort zone, it's not gonna happen. Right? It could be whatever that comfort zone for you means, right? Because everyone doesn't know everything, right? I might have a weakness that I will have to overcome in my journey, and so on and so forth. And I think that's really what it is. And I don't think that applies to entrepreneurship. I think that just applies to being successful in life. That's just everything. I think.
You have to put yourself out there. Yeah, I think so. How Uma is asking here, how big was your team at the end of year 1 and when you were bought? And how big is it now?
So at the end of year 1, we were 6 people. We went down to 2 people again, both of us. We went back to 4 people. At the time we were bought, we were actually, when the acquisition closed, we were 6 people. But 2 people had to leave us for reasons beyond us because of some personal issues that they had to relocate and stuff like that.
So currently
we're 4. We're 4 now.
Okay. Are you going to hire more people in the near future, or are they going to use? Are you part of CoWrks or a different team, or are you completely embedded into it?
So we're completely embedded into CoWrks. We are all CoWrks employees, but we run some.
But we are a different team. Yeah.
Okay. Will you be going to other countries?
Yes. Yes and yes.
When I'm here?
Soon enough.
Let's
get on a call after this to talk about that.
Okay. Well, I'm into funding. Come back to the program again. Yeah. I'm into funding. I love that thing. I love that thing. Let me see if yeah, what was the most difficult part of your journey?
That's a difficult one.
Not knowing if we will be able to survive the next month.
Uncertainty. I think uncertainty. So I think there are two answers I have. So she thinks it's uncertainty, and I also think that to quite an extent.
And sorry, one more thing. Just keeping yourself motivated. Getting up the next morning with a fresh mindset.
The fire in your belly.
And just going at it like it was a normal day when you know there are 50,000 things that you need to overcome.
Wow. Did you take vacations?
No, no.
I did a few.
What 3-4 days? 3-4 days. I mean, there was
Small ones.
like I think our laptops became like added accessories to us.
And they still are.
They still are. I don't think there's been a time where we've actually left our laptop and gone. It's never happened.
For more than 24 hours, honestly.
Do you take the laptop home with you?
Yeah.
Yep.
No questions about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
like, that's all.
do you work on weekends or not?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Are you also a user of your services?
Yes, we
Yes.
are.
That's pretty
Where we usually work from a new location twice a week. At least we try to. Yes.
Do you use focus groups with your customers?
I wouldn't call it focus groups. It's more like events where we've had sort of interactive sessions. So it's not really a focus group. We'll get 1 or 2 speakers. We've done that twice actually, not
Not too
a lot
many
of
times. Yeah.
So, but we're looking to now sort of do that more and more.
Okay. Let me see if there's any other questions here.
Yeah, we're not disclosing how much we got acquired at.
Now we have like 5 more minutes, and I wanted to know if there was any other questions here. I'm just going to go and check my emails to see. Oh, okay, there's one here that just came. Okay, there's 2 more coming. One is, do you, oh, now I have 3. Did you have kids? And do you think having kids would have made this more difficult or not?
Well, we don't have kids. We're not even married.
Okay.
And I don't know if it have been. I don't know enough. Well, we've seen both our mothers. We've seen our. If I can quote that as an example,
We've seen our mothers work as well as be mothers and handle 2 children each, actually.
Yeah. So I think it's a state of mind. I mean, if you want to overcome it, you will overcome it.
Yeah. And then you have, like I say, my kids still talk to me, so that's good. Yeah, they still like me and talk to me. There's another one here. Okay, now that you have been acquired, you wouldn't be your own boss. Would that be difficult?
So I think you saw Abhishek's message, and I think he is a fantastic leader to be working under. The entire work culture at CoWrks is very, very entrepreneurial, but controlled. And you've got to sort of meet targets. You've got to make sure that you're making efficient use of your time and you're delivering to the continued growth of the company, right? And it isn't so difficult to accept that, because as entrepreneurs, that's really what we've sort of conditioned our minds to do, right? Yes, is it going to bother us? I don't think it
has,
and I don't think it will, because at the end of the day,
the growth of the business has always been the focus.
The focus, right?
The way she earlier quoted, you create a baby and you want to keep it close, or you want to let it have other parents and be the caretaker. That has essentially been the thought process from day one. So not being our own bosses is not that much of a challenge.
I would actually take a break from doing that. On a lighter note, it sounds really cool, but it isn't that cool in like actual everyday. It's not that cool.
I know that. We're very close to ending this chat, and I want to thank you for that. And as usual, I want to thank the people who are watching this. They will watch these for months to come. We have one of our fireside chats that have been seen like 8,000 times from 2 years ago, but that's a lot of people for our small community. But I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you, the people who are watching this, wherever time in the future it is. Do you have last comments for men and women who are either starting the company or have their own company and are questioning their capacity to grow it?
So before we get to that, first, thank you for having us. And thank you for
giving us this opportunity, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in the making. We're still very young, and this just helps us reinstate our confidence, and in the future go open another company like someone asked us. That would be fantastic. So thank you, and thank you for all that you're doing at Women Get Funded. I think it's a fantastic platform, and with all the work that you're doing in the developing countries of the world, I think it's really, really great, and it takes a lot to put it together, right? I mean, everyone talks about women and entrepreneurship, but is there real value that a lot of these sort of groups or whatever are delivering? I don't know, but with you, we sort of got a first-hand experience being a part of sort of the cohort last year. So I think fantastic. Keep at it. Please tell us if we can be a part of this in any way. We'd be happy to contribute our time in any way whatsoever. So thank you, and thank you from not just ourselves, but from anyone and everyone who's learned from you ever. So that's one. And the message, just go get it. I think that's really what it is, right? If you're having a bad day, go get a cup of coffee and
or get your favorite food, honestly,
or get a chocolate and make yourself feel better. Because if you've not turned the stone around, you'll never know what's on the other side, right? So and I don't think anyone should ever think about failure. I think you should just think about what's the outcome, right? And if it's failure, it's not, turn that around and make that a learning rather than a failure. So I think that's really what it is. I think what happened with us and the acquisition is a 1 in 1,000 chance, and I think we just got lucky. I can just put it out there. I mean, we were a little smart here and there.
We did a little.
But it's just, if you don't do it, you'll never know what's gonna come. So if you're having a bad day, don't be tough on yourself. Don't have to make a decision there and then. Take a break, come back, relook at it, and get at it again.
Yeah.
So really, that's really what it is.